My fiancé, Judas, returned to the country on the eve of our engagement. But he wasn't alone. His hand was firmly clasped around the hand of his first love, Lamia. The first words out of his mouth weren't about missing me, or the life we were about to build. Instead, he looked me in the eye and said, "I owe Lamia too much. I need to make it up to her." Then, as if I were nothing more than a business transaction, he told me to remain silent and listen. Lamia wanted to start a business, he explained. She needed capital, 20 million yuan. And if I gave it to her, then he would marry me. If not, he would call off the engagement altogether. He said it so casually, so sure of himself. He was confident that the foolish, lovesick me would agree without hesitation. What he didn't know was, I had already started planning how to get rid of him. Today was the engagement banquet I had spent 6 months preparing. I had invited the most renowned vocal ensemble in the country, hired the top-tier event team to design the venue, and filled the villa with luxury so grand it could make headlines. Relatives, business partners, and friends gathered, champagne glasses in hand, ready to celebrate. But the one person who should have been there from the very start, Judas, arrived half an hour late. And when he finally walked in, it was with Lamia on his arm. I let my eyes fall on their intertwined fingers, a faint smile tugging at my lips, though my heart was icy cold. Before I could speak, he leaned toward me, close enough for the scent of her perfume to follow him, and gave me a reproachful look, as though I had done something wrong. I lifted my chin slightly and gestured toward his watch. "You're late," I said. Not a flicker of guilt crossed his face. Lamia, still tucked under his arm, gave a small laugh before speaking for him. "Sorry," she said softly, her tone dripping with practiced innocence. "I've just returned to the country and I'm still adjusting to the time difference." My eyes shifted to her, my smile sharpening. "Is that your excuse for spending all day and night with someone else's fiancé?" The air went still. I asked people around, looked in our direction, and began whispering and pointing at her Lamia, who pouted. "Judas has not married you yet," she asked. "Are you going to interfere with him like this? Can't he have close opposite-sex friends?" Judas gave her a soothing look. When he turned to face me, his eyes darkened slightly. "That is enough," he stated. "Lamia has no one to care for her in the country, and I'm just concerned about her." Nothing occurred between us. My heart sank the night before the engagement. I was still discussing the details of the engagement banquet with the team, while he went to care for his first love. In his heart, Phoenix, it's clear who he supports. "I am here today to bless you," Lamia advised against overthinking. "There can be pure friendship between the sexes," she added, Lamia, assuming she was smoothing things out. "Pure friendship between a man and a woman." She said Lamia had returned for her brand business. "She's currently short on startup capital, so I brought her here. Please give her a hand." Judas stated it as a matter of course. When I heard this, I looked at him intently and asked, "What if I don't?" Lamy forced her lips into a straight line. She said unhappily and preemptively, "You're not short on money. Every year, you encourage college students to become entrepreneurs. Why can't you provide me with startup capital?" Because Judas was deliberately targeting me. Her tone was accusatory. "If you do not even do this favor, there is no reason to continue with the engagement. I will not agree to marry you in the future either," she continued. Judas frowned, and a blatant look of contempt flashed in his eyes for an instant. He then assumed a confident posture. Again, he was convinced that I, who was infatuated with him, would agree to this absurd condition. I couldn't live without him and cherished him as my life. Everyone in the Beijing circle knew me well, and I was madly in love with Judas, the poor guy. I didn't hesitate to abandon my pride and arrogance, which I had harbored for over 20 years. Such an extreme condition. "Phoenix will not agree, correct?" someone whispered. Needless to say, Phoenix values her fiancé above all else. She is willing to do anything to marry him. Another person added, "Hush. The Phoenix family's daughter has entirely fallen for him." Someone else commented. People at the banquet whispered amongst themselves. All the mixed looks of pity, sympathy, and mockery converged on me in an instant. Some of the words inevitably reached my ears, and Judas also heard them. He gently raised his brows, and the corners of his mouth curled into a disdainful smile, as if he had complete control. 3 days ago, I would never have let him down, but now it's time to kick him out. When something breaks, you replace it. A man is like an item of clothing. When it's dirty, throw it away. Not long ago, I realized I was in a novel. The male and female protagonists are Judas and Lamia, respectively. I'm the female supporting character who can't find the love she wants. I have the highest net worth but the most tragic end. Previously I had a fiancé named Sasha. I didn't believe it. But the scenes and conversations that occurred today were the same as those described in the novel. When I thought about my ending, I couldn't help but sneer. It's seriously messed up. Whether in the story or real life, I believed I had given Judas my heart and soul, and I always said yes to his requests, perfectly demonstrating the infatuation of a wealthy young lady in love. As for him, after acquiring power, money, fame, and influence, he immediately distanced himself from me and embarked on a fierce pursuit of his first love. My retribution was much more than that. Judas teamed up with others to target my family's business. As a result, the company's stock price fell, and the financing failed. I went bankrupt, and he forced me to commit suicide. Phoenix, you have only one chance by jumping into the sea. Judas spoke impatiently. If you want to get engaged to me, you must agree with Lamia and me, or we will leave. Immediately, his expression of impatience grew more intense. After a while, I nodded obediently and gave an "oh." There was some sighs among the attendees. The corners of Judas' mouth turned up happily, and Lamia couldn't help but bend her beautiful eyes. There were hints of cunning shadow and freed. Between her brows, she excitedly hugged his arm and transferred the money. Now she suggested happily, she's in a hurry. If you do not transfer the money, I will not attend the engagement ceremony with you. Judas used the same tone he used to give me orders. The next second, I picked up one of the wine glasses on the waiter's tray. The corners of my mouth curled slightly, and I splashed the wine on his face, which had previously fascinated me. It looks a lot better now, I said. The red wine flowed down his face, matching the color of his carefully arranged shirt. My reaction surprised everyone. The air fell into a dead silence. Judas was stunned but continued to maintain the upward curve of his mouth, combined with the red stains all over his face. It was ridiculous. After a few seconds, he angrily ripped at his tie. Phoenix, what are you really into? He shouted. Lamia stepped forward, distressed, to assist Phoenix in wiping away the stray hair on his forehead. How can you behave like this? You agreed to something, but she changed her mind. She immediately turned around angrily and glared at me with her beautiful eyes. When did I agree with you? I asked. Surprised. Phoenix, if you're angry, vent it on me. Do not bully Lamia, Judas said, looking at me with a distressed expression, and the anger that had just subsided resurfaced. Again, I snapped my fingers, and the waiter was very sensible, quickly handing me a full glass of wine. I just assumed I didn't dare in his eyes. My previous action was purely impulsive and motivated by anger. Despite the exclamations, I did not pause for a single tick-tock. There was a pool of liquid on the floor where Judas stood. When I looked at his appearance, my shoulders couldn't stop shaking. I burst into laughter. How should I describe the scene in which Judas rescues the beauty? It's disgusting and unbearable to look at. I told Phoenix, you're going too far. Can you do whatever you want simply because you're wealthy? Lamia accused me aloud. Judas' face was also unpleasant. His pupils darkened as his breathing became increasingly heavy. He threatened me with a dark-faced Phoenix. Do you still want to marry me after you pulled this stunt? You immediately apologized to Lamia and invested in her company. As promised, and I forgive you, he said. Invest in your mother, I retorted with the corners of my mouth. It gradually curved into a mocking arc. He looked at me with a red face, angry. He suddenly let out a cold snort through his nose. What new trick have you learned? Are you trying hard to get this trick? Does not work on me. Phoenix, you have gone too far, he said. His Phoenix eyes narrowed slightly. The conditions I mentioned earlier have been doubled. Furthermore, if you give me the position of president of the Phoenix family's company, I'll consider proposing to you. He added, what a nerve he has. As my eyes flickered, I asked him, really, can't you understand normal words? Now, get out. After that, I shifted my gaze and raised my glass to the crowd, smiling. I'm sorry, everyone. The engagement banquet was cancelled today. Consider this my Phoenix's single party. Everyone have fun while eating and drinking. Do not let this trip be in vain, I announced, and everyone raised their glasses in surprise and occasionally glanced at Judas. Come on, get these two out. I ordered a group of bodyguards to follow me. Phoenix, you cannot be so heartless. Even if you misunderstand our relationship, you can unconditionally support others. Why can't it be me? Lamia is unwilling. Screams rang out as two bodyguards carried her out of the hall. Judas, say something for me. She reached out and grabbed Judas' hand. He finally reacted, and after struggling in vain, he warned me with a furious expression. Phoenix, even if you kneel and beg me to return later, I will never accept. Judas' bravado only lasted one night. When I arrived at the company the next day, the secretary informed me that President Phoenix, as well as the vice president, were present. He said, observing my expression and stammering speech, the vice president is recruiting people in the HR department downstairs. He's making a big fuss, and the HR manager can't say anything. The secretary clarified, slapping. I closed the document. I made it very clear yesterday. Where did he get the nerve to make such drastic changes in my company's workplace? I thought I was to blame for giving him too much leeway before. If I could go back in time, I'd like to slap myself 3 years ago. Back then, I overruled all objections and appointed him as the group's vice president. I even promised him that once we married, I would transfer all of the company shares to him and no longer be involved in the company's affairs. Please give me the recruitment list I requested. Based on my understanding of Judas, a simple interview would not have piqued his interest. There must be something fishy happening here. Sure enough, I was on the list provided to me by the secretary. I was startled to see a familiar name. This is very interesting. I considered playing tricks right under my nose, even bringing the mistress to my doorstep. President Phoenix, you must stand up for me. The vice president refused to let me interfere with the recruitment and kicked me out. The HR manager had a bitter expression on his face as he was blocked at the interview hall door by Judas' assistant. I looked, and the assistant was unable to speak correctly. His head was nearly buried in the floor. Congratulations, Lamia, on joining our company. The other interviewees can leave without even reviewing the resumes of the remaining interviewees. Judas decided on the spot to hire Lamia. Lamia was like a phoenix, having risen to a high position and now feeling elated. Her brows were slightly raised, and she looked down at the other interviewees. One of the interviewees, who was far more excellent than Lamia, argued for herself. Why would she abandon my qualifications, which are more in line with your company's requirements, despite her obvious potential? She asked. Judas replied impatiently, I decide who to hire. A beautiful resume is useless. She is capable of doing what I say. I get it. I have not agreed. Let's see who will approve it, I said, as the secretary pushed open the door, and I walked in gracefully, with a hint of mockery in my eyes. Judas' face darkened. It is my right to choose who to hire. He spoke in a deep voice with a hint of anger. Right, is it greater than mine? I asked. I pulled out the chair, sat in his original position, and leaned back. Lily, I picked up the 4 resumes on the table and took a glance at them. Except for Lamia, you are all excellent. I will take all of you. Maya's eyes widened as I announced it. Phoenix, why are you acting so unfairly? You are going too far. If you want to target me, how can you influence my future? She slapped the table hard enough to make a loud noise. It's fine if you don't invest in me, but now you want to destroy my livelihood. You are so impulsive that you do not deserve to be the chairperson, she added. I raised my eyes and asked, if I'm not the group's chairperson, should I give the position to an outsider? Even though her qualifications do not meet our group's recruitment requirements at all. Does she truly believe that her experience studying abroad was extraordinary? You lack experience and ability, and your university background is not particularly impressive. If I'm going to target you, you should be qualified, I said. I casually tossed her resume back at her. You are talking nonsense. Judas stepped forward and tore up the other's resumes. His expression was stern. He said, Phoenix, I have decided to keep Lamia. You have no right to order people around. Lamia is the person I want as my secretary starting today. Do not overstep your boundaries. You have no say over her affairs. If no one else were present, he would have wanted to hold her in his arms and comfort her. When did you gain the right to make decisions? In my company, just because I'm the vice president. I let out an awe and curved the corners of my lips slightly. Vice president, I can fire you. Then I said, and Judas frowned unhappily at Phoenix. What are you so crazy about? I've worked hard for the company for 3 years. You have no right to fire me. He claimed he was not afraid of my words at all. Fire him. It's impossible that Phoenix would agree to that. He thought I could see through his little schemes at a glance. So he sent out a notice that Judas was no longer the group's vice president. Tell the security guards downstairs not to let him in. I instructed them to receive my gaze. The secretary and the HR manager rushed over to drive him out. Mr. Judas, please pack your belongings and leave. Judas' pupils shrank and trembled as soon as they said this. He noticed my expression and appeared to realize that I wasn't joking. You cannot fire me like this, Phoenix. Without me, you would have gotten into a lot of trouble over the years. The board of directors will never agree to your decision. He said something, and I blinked my eyes. This decision is precisely what the board of directors desires. The older members of the board of directors were furious when I helped him assume the company's leadership position. Did he? He truly believes he earned that position through his abilities. I thought Phoenix had stopped talking nonsense. Everyone sees my abilities. You wouldn't be as good as I am without your Phoenix identity. How did you become the chairperson? That position should be mine, he said. Believe it or not, it is up to you. Of course, the N1 compensation you deserve will be transferred to your card with no deductions, I replied, smiling at the new employees. We are a legitimate company. We will not do anything illegal and will strictly adhere to labor laws, I added. Every new employee smiled. Only Judah's face was black as ink. You'll undoubtedly regret this, he stated. I don't know if I'll regret it or not. But the fact is that he was kicked out after the news of Judah's firing spread throughout the industry. Some people predicted that I would come begging for his forgiveness within 3 days. Some people were sincerely happy for me. Phoenix, your parents will always be there for you, no matter what you decide. We are not expecting anything as long as our precious daughter is happy. My parents told me that while on vacation on a foreign island, they were constantly monitoring domestic news. When they learned that my engagement banquet had been cancelled, they were concerned that I would be mistreated. I will, Mom and Dad. Judah's does not deserve me. I will find you a better son-in-law in the future. I said I made them happy. I anticipated that the engagement banquet would not go well, so I warned my parents and insisted that they not end their world trip early because of it. It is a trivial matter. However, Dad, I have a problem that requires your assistance. I mentioned that we talked for a while before hanging up on the overseas call. What an air, those industry sisters sent me an invitation. They planned a party to celebrate the fact that I had finally realized my mistake and dumped the scumbag. That poor guy, relying on his good looks, played you for a fool. You even neglected your sisters because of Batman. Fortunately, the heading satisfied me. You did not turn over the company to him in advance. It is a blessing in disguise. There are many men with 2 leeks everywhere. Today, we've prepared a table filled with hunks for you. Come on. Which one do you prefer? They claimed they were so happy that they lost all sense of measurement and were lying around drunk. I also drank heavily. I squinted my eyes as I looked at the row of sports students in front of me, each with 8-pack abs, broad shoulders, and narrow waists, and secretly swallowed saliva. Isn't any of them better than that? Playboy Judas. I was so stupid to treat him like a treasure and unquestioningly tolerate his bullying of me. I thought that the more I thought about it, the angrier I became without realizing it. I used a little more force when touching the abs, and that cute puppy, like handsome veg pants, softly cried with tears in his eyes. Sister, could we go somewhere else? He asked, his chin resting on my shoulder, his voice ending seductively. I agreed after staring at his full lips. I allowed him to put his arm around my waist and lead me out of the private room. I was wrapped in his arms, and the hand on my waist appeared to be burning with heat. The surrounding temperature gradually increased, and the atmosphere became extremely ambiguous. A furious yell jolted me back to reality. What are you doing, Phoenix? You are cheating on me behind my back. How are you still talking about me and Lamia? Judah's cheeks turned red with rage. Let go of her, he ordered the cute puppy, like Guy not to move, and hugged me even tighter. He lowered his head, and his lightly curled hair brushed against my brows. Sister, I'm drunk. You're the driver, he said. I picked up the car keys and pressed them against my chest. We flirted with each other as if he were not present. Judas, who had been left out in the cold, pursed his lips and flashed 2 flames of rage in his eyes. Can you catch my attention like this? You want me to return to the company and resume my position, and you want me to forgive you, so you devised such a self-degrading trick. He snorted, as if he'd seen through my tricks. Sister, who is he? The cute puppy-like guy's hand moved restlessly around my waist, exerting a little more force as if in punishment. I looked at Judas and said, he's just an unimportant person. Phoenix, repeat it. I am your fiancé. You're being affectionate with another man right in front of me. Do you feel any sense of shame? Do you care about me? Judah grabbed my wrist angrily. The engagement has already been cancelled. Who do you think you are as my fiancé? I asked. He was taken aback and attempted to justify himself. You forgot that I am your boyfriend. Of course, I have the authority to manage you. We called off the engagement because you were being too tricky, he said. Oh, I forgot to tell you that I had dumped you. As I spoke, Judas' eyes flickered, and he unconsciously tightened his grip on my wrist. Phoenix, you're cheating on Judas with another man and still won't let us discuss it. If you don't reinstate Judas, I will reveal that you were cheating tonight. A soft voice sounded confident, but I recommend that you do not compare yourself to me. People will most likely be more interested in the fact that you were alone in a room with someone else's fiancé the moment you returned to the country. I teased Lamia with a half smile and pointed to the surveillance camera above with my slender white finger. Phoenix, are you finished? Judas stood in front of her without hesitation, blocking the camera. Then get out. Please do not show up in front of me, I replied coldly. Judas took the hand of the person beside him, and before entering the private room, he reminded me not to do anything stupid. Is sister sad? Do you still have me? A hoarse whisper came to my ear, full of endless complaints. I chuckled softly. I wasn't sad, but I suddenly remembered something very ironic. This club consumes at least 100 the Lawson yuan per night. How could Judas and the others afford to spend here? I called the manager and asked if Judas used her name. The consumption is charged to your account, as usual. Expected. Judas wouldn't let me down. I glanced at the bill. It totaled more than 20 million yuan. He had a wild time behind my back, using my credit to live a debauched lifestyle. Charge him for tonight's consumption as well as the previous ones I ordered. Okay, Phoenix, all debts should be settled tonight. Judas is about to lose a lot of money. The manager stated that the driver was already waiting at the club's entrance. I asked the secretary to prepare an extra car to transport the cute puppy, like Guy, back to his home. Judas can fool around anywhere, but I can't. I cherish my life. After the incident at the club, my relationship with Judas was severed. I thought he wouldn't have the nerve to ask me again, but it only lasted a week. The butler called to tell me that Judas had arrived at my house, accompanied by his mother, Hangi. Beach, you're only returning now. Phoenix, you're very arrogant to keep your man and mother-in-law waiting for you at home for so long. She said that when she saw me return. She dropped the empty bird's nest bowl in her hand and gave me a dirty look. I stared coldly at the emerald necklace around her neck. Isn't it mine? What did she do with it? She put it on herself. Casually, I wondered who had allowed you to enter my room and take things without permission. You and Judas are about to be married. This is my home. What's the problem with my entering your room? You have many jewels that you should share with your mother-in-law. Before we broke up, Hangi fully demonstrated her mercenary nature. His family had received numerous benefits from me, particularly Judas' mother. Every time we met, she would ask for money. She would not be grateful if I gave it to her, nor would she be satisfied. Instead, she would treat my money as if it belonged to the Judas family and demand more. We have nothing to do with one another anymore. If you don't return the items, I will have to contact the police, I said, looking at Judas, who was sitting beside her. Since we started dating, I have given him the villa and sports car under his name. However, after we broke up, my lawyer contacted him and requested that he return them all. Otherwise, he would face a lawsuit. Today, I'm not going to be stupid enough to pay to hang you like I used to. We're a family. Why distinguish between yours and mine? What is yours, Judas? I'm just using my son's things. What is the problem? Hangi spoke. Judas informed me that you two had a minor conflict. If you apologize to him, this situation will be resolved, and I will still recognize you as my future daughter-in-law. Hangi's face dropped. That will not work. Auntie, you cannot force feelings. Judas has a crush on someone else. And your future daughter-in-law is not her, I said, and Judas avoided my gaze. Hangi was aware of her son and Lemmy's affair. She didn't see it as a big deal and thought I was exaggerating. She frowned and asked, which man doesn't fool around outside? As long as he is willing to return home, you should look the other way and have a son. For him, as soon as possible. Then his heart will return to you. Perhaps Judas was concerned that his mother would cause trouble for Lamia in private, so he avoided admitting it directly and instead shifted the blame onto me. Phoenix, do not jump to conclusions. I am not being disloyal to you. You are the one who broke our agreement first. Lamia and I are both innocent, and we have no history together. He said. I couldn't help but laugh, and a faint dimple formed in the corner of my mouth. Innocent. How could he say that? I thought I'd picked up my bag and zipped the chain, but with a tear, a stack of photos of him and Lamia holding hands and hugging as they entered a hotel fell out. Some landed at his feet or somewhere within their sight. You had someone following me. Judas held one of the intimate kiss photos, his face turning an odd color. He gritted his teeth and asked, if you haven't done anything wrong, why are you worried about being followed? When I left the club on a whim that day, I asked my secretary to have someone wait at the door while I took some interesting photos. I didn't expect to use them so quickly. Hangi cleared her throat. She felt a little guilty, but she still held her neck and said, just a few photos can't prove anything. Someone must have purposefully synthesized them to cause trouble between you two. Do not be silly. I was prepared. I met her gaze and smiled while opening a video on my phone. Photos can be photoshopped, but videos cannot, right? As I mentioned in the video, her precious son reached out his hand to lay Maya's chest, and they kissed passionately, afraid they couldn't see clearly. I zoomed in on the video multiple times. It was very clear. Hangi was too stiff to say anything in her son's defense. Phoenix, I've had enough of your aggressive behavior. Remember everything you said today. Do not come crying and begging me to return. Judas stood up with a dark expression and clenched his teeth. Mom, let's go. He stated that many large companies value my abilities. She should be concerned about how the group will function without me. The Phoenix family is about to go bankrupt. He mentioned hearing her son's words. His previous guilt vanished. She behaved in the same impulsive manner as when we first met. Yes, H is in session. Even if you beg us to stay, we will need to think about it. What's so special about the Phoenix family? There are plenty of large corporations looking to hire my son. My son is in high demand, unlike you, who wear such shorts. When she said tens, I smiled and said nothing. The Phoenix family's influence is among the best, and the large families in the Beijing circle look after one another and unanimously exclude outsiders. At this point, word has spread that Judas ended our engagement and was fired. Who would hire him 2 months after Judas abandoned the Phoenix family? I took on the complex projects that he had been unable to manage during his tenure and used my strength to silence. I concentrated on my career, and the headquarters were thriving. Judas underestimated any young nobleman or lady. We received elite education because we were young and needed to learn everything. Our daily lives were not solely about having fun. We could easily manage networking, communication, and business skills. That novel influenced me, even though I was never a fool. My IQ dropped dramatically after I fell in love with him. Otherwise, how could I have secured that cooperation given my inability? Of course, my father also contributed a little. I asked him to make a short introduction. President Phoenix, there is an opportunity for cooperation with Wang in the afternoon. The general manager over there has been contacting us for some time and has always wanted to meet you. The secretary said. I closed my eyes and took a quick trip, leaving the arrangements to the secretary. Who would have thought I'd meet 2 familiar faces here? Wang's general manager came down personally to pick me up. When our eyes met, we both smiled. Why is it you? He inquired with his trademark curly hair. He was the cutest young man in the club that night. Aren't you pleased to see me, sister? He inquired, his eyes watery and obedient, with the corners slightly raised. Unlike the open shirt he had worn that night, he was dressed in a neat dark suit. His cuffs were neatly fastened, and he stood tall and straight among the crowd, making it difficult to look away. He smiled as he introduced himself. Sister, this is the second time we have met. My name is Guardian, you are Wang. Oh, I was fortunate in my birth. My father is the general manager of our company, he said, and I couldn't help but smile from the corner of my eye. My smile faded as soon as I saw a familiar figure. It is a narrow road for enemies. I paused and quickened my pace to leave Guardian Phoenix. Stop! Judas' face became even darker. He raised his voice and ran after the graceful figure in front of him. You're up to something, right, Phoenix? You used your private power to get Wang to reject me. Are you satisfied now that you've witnessed my failure? He asked. I frowned and stared at him. He was dressed in a suit and carrying a briefcase, and he looked pretty professional. If not for the resume in his hand, I would have assumed he had been hired as a senior executive at Ru Fong. I did not ask anyone to block you in the industry, and I did not intend to go to extremes. I didn't even communicate with those large families, and the idea of secretly suppressing him was unacceptable. I didn't bother. And I don't want to do it. But it's unavoidable that some people will try to please the Phoenix family by suppressing him. I thought you were leading me down a dead end, but do you think I will submit to your tyranny? Do not be delusional. I'm not going to change my mind unless you publicly beg me and hold a press conference to apologize to Lamia for what happened previously. He stated that the people around me sneered when they heard this. I instructed my subordinates not to hire him and to return your resume if they saw it promptly. The Guardian shrugged and freely admitted it. I hold no grudge against you. Yes, you have a very good reason. Guardian interrupted him with his index finger. Which you spoke rudely to President Phoenix and got her. Why? I was upset about it. He said this as he leaned forward and fixed his gaze on me. The corner of his mouth lifted slightly, and his entire silhouette appeared to come alive. Right, sister? He asked. My heart skips a beat. Fine. Mina was Russian Phoenix. You must have a lot of nerve to have someone backing you up. Just wait. I'll repay you in installments for everything you've done for me, Judas said. I frowned and turned my head to face him. I looked straight into Judas' dark and ambiguous eyes and shivered instinctively the next second. I thought it was ridiculous. He betrayed me first and reaped the consequences. How dare he hold a grudge against me? Despite my displeasure, the Guardian arranged for a group of bodyguards to surround me and keep me safe. Looking at the grand gesture, I couldn't stop laughing for several days. Everything was peaceful. Judas did not show up, and he did not send me any private messages that bothered me. Just as I was letting down my guard, Lamia caused a commotion in the office after being blocked by the receptionist at the door. She demanded to see me. Lamia, what do we have to talk about? When I asked, Lamia furrowed her brow, and her voice was full of resentment. You are so heartless, you have ruined Judas. Don't you feel guilty? She inquired from time to time. I greatly admire her way of thinking. Judas engaged in an emotional and physical affair. It was natural for me to break up with him. Why should I feel guilty? Furthermore, her company did not start. It wasn't due to a lack of startup capital or her inadequate planning. How could she have blamed me? Were you not guilty towards me? When did you get together with him? I redirected the question to her. We are heading to S, my obsession. We genuinely love each other. The mistress is not loved. Lamia gritted her teeth. Indeed, birds of a feather flock together. Without you, we would not have been separated for so long. She mentioned hearing this. I put the pen down. I used to sign the documents. How can she bring up what happened back then? I assumed Lamia wanted to travel abroad and asked for money. You and Judas had been separated for over a year before I started dating him. All of Yana's 5 million was squandered, and it ultimately benefited this scumbag and his mistress. I thought, I don't care. You fired Judas after he had worked for you for 3 years. No company wants to hire him. You must provide him with startup capital. We do not ask for much. Please give us 20 million yuan. After that, you go your way, and we will go ours, Lamia commented. I was so angry that I laughed. I was the one who was betrayed, and now I'm expected to pay a breakup fee. What kind of fool do they think I am? If you love him so much, why don't you pay the 20 million you want for him? Can I pay for your love? I asked. I do not have the money, but you do. This amount of money means nothing to you. You can buy a few fewer bags, but this is critical for us. We only need this money to get the company started. Lamia spoke, her gentle brows suddenly turning cold. Her lower lashes created a thick shadow under her eyes, concealing the jealousy that flashed by. If you do not give us the money, I will hang your company's banner downstairs and ensure that it cannot operate. If we do not receive the funds, you will not have a single day of peace. She threatened. Have you spent so much time abroad that you've forgotten about the law? How long is the sentence for extortion? Go look it up yourself. I don't mind sending you to prison to learn the ropes before you get out. I explained that I had turned on the recording in front of her, and that what she had just said was played back. Lamia gave me a disapproving look, like a cold needle. She didn't intend to attack me, but the line of bodyguards behind me wasn't there to show Phoenix. Just wait and see. Lamia stated that a month later, someone showed Judas a way out, and he was able to start his own company. He took several projects from me. Some people who didn't like me secretly mocked me and congratulated him on his triumphant comeback. Phoenix, I told you that. I will reclaim everything I lost from you. Judas stated that after closing several deals, he was on a roll. Those who once looked down on him were now enamored with him. I gave him a sidelong look and sneered, thinking that snatching a few projects was worth coming here to brag about. I asked. Leah's eyes gleamed with triumph. She swayed her waist and nearly clung to Judas. You were the one who refused to invest before. You now regret it. It is too late. You are not qualified to invest, she said, and my gaze lingered on the bag she was carrying for a moment before I smiled playfully. Why the rush? The Phoenix family does not lack these 2 projects. Please be cautious. A cautious person can sail for a millennium. I claimed Judas understood the hidden meaning behind my words. I'm not like Phoenix, who isn't determined to win the bid. The Phoenix family will not give up easily either. He stated that in a month, we will determine which party is better positioned to win the bid. Judas secretly had someone operate on it. If he can do it, so can I. I planned several trips to visit and learn more about the plot of land in the city's west. Finally, I need to sell my XE. I received accurate information one day before the bidding. On the day of the bidding, there was a significant problem. I'm not sure where Judas obtained the first-hand information, but he won the bid while I failed Phoenix. You lost. He smiled and walked through the crowd with unmistakable mockery in his brow. I was remarkably calm. I gave a long sigh and said, happy. Congratulations to you. I smiled at him, despite his confused expression. You'll enjoy this gift. I explained that Judas' bid, which he won after more than a month of hard work, was a cover. Whoever took over that plot of land would be unlucky. The so-called inside information was a trap I set for him. He planted informants beside me, and he was able to snatch the projects for me several times, so I took advantage of the opportunity to spread the word about the bidding, to expose them all and bringing down his company. Being obsessed with love isn't entirely useless. At the very least, it helped me get to know Judas well enough. I knew his temperament. He was so arrogant that he would never pass up the opportunity to overpower me, as if he had won the bid. His company was about to declare bankruptcy. I reminded him not to capsize in the gutter, but he didn't listen. He put a lot of money into the bid, and now he had lost everything. The projects he had previously snatched from me had all failed, and the capital chain had been broken. The company that Judas had run for less than a year met the same fate that he had predicted for me. Going bankrupt overnight, he transformed from the unrivaled President Judas to Judas who owed a massive amount of debt. Phoenix, you framed me. He emerged from the bushes to one side. His hair was as messy as a chicken coop, and there was a secretion in the corner of his eye. He appeared 100 times more embarrassed and haggard than he had at the engagement banquet. The bodyguard surrounded me in the center, preventing me from getting dressed at all. You selected 2 bidders for it. I did not force you. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being excessively greedy. I claimed. Judas laughed maniacally and recklessly. Say nothing, say nothing. I'm in this situation today entirely because of you. If you hadn't forced Leia away at the start, I wouldn't have become involved with you and ended up like this. It's you. It's you. You are the one who ruined me. I once had a promising future, but you destroyed it all by yourself. He described his voice as low and hoarse, with saliva splashing everywhere, and his ferocious facial features squeezed together. Judas, you're wrong. I hadn't told you the truth before because I was afraid you'd be hurt. I said. I silently started the recording with Mia Phoenix. I heard you're very wealthy. Let's strike a deal. You give me 5 million yuan. As soon as I get the money, I'll leave Judas and travel abroad to study. Mia's voice spoke. I remained silent for a long time before asking her to give up Judas for money. Do you regret it? Lami's laughter had reached Judas' ears. How can he be more valuable than money? A poor man like him does not deserve to fall in love with me. She stated that the recording ended abruptly. No, that's impossible. It's impossible. You are lying to me. Judas was as if struck by lightning. He grabbed his messy, greasy hair and took a few steps back, trembling, shocked. He looked at me through the bodyguards. Phoenix's eyes were empty and dazed. Can you give me one last chance? He asked. I pointed behind him. Dash. Your creditors have arrived at the door, I said. Judas' pupils shrank suddenly and tightly. His body responded faster than his brain. He quietly crossed the green belt even. He lost one of his shoes while running. I watched his back as he fled in a hurry, gradually disappearing from my view. I heard that to start the business, he had listened to one-sided statements and borrowed high-interest loans. Now that the company was bankrupt and he couldn't repay the high-interest loans, the interest continued to accumulate, resulting in an astronomical debt. He couldn't repay the debt. Collectors came to his door every day, from morning to night, appending his usual routine. When a person is under mental stress for an extended period, they are capable of doing anything. He couldn't take it anymore and got into a fight with the employees of the high-interest loan company. The result was obvious. He was beaten unilaterally, resulting in a broken leg. Lamia, who had always claimed to love him and stick by him through thick and thin, secretly took his last few savings and purchased a plane ticket to try to flee abroad. She failed and was stopped by Judas along the way. You are useless. Your life is already a mess. Don't even consider dragging me to hell with you. Lamia clutched her backpack tightly and taunted him with the most vicious words in the world. Judas flew into a rage when he heard those words. He stabbed Lamia Weiss in her abdomen. He had always carried the knife in his arms. At first, it was for self-defense, but he later realized that if he were driven insane by the high-interest loan collectors, he would perish alongside them. You are too late. Judas received a 12-year prison sentence for intentional injury. On the day he was arrested, he begged me to meet with him. I did not go. There was no need. I heard that in the 3rd year of his prison sentence, he applied for medical parole due to advanced gastric cancer, but he died from the illness less than half a year later. For a while, Lamia was frequently mentioned in the news. After she was released from the hospital, she quickly met another man, an older man with some money, a wife, and children. She was a mistress for a while, but she couldn't avoid being discovered by the original wife and having the wife show up at her door to cause trouble. According to reports, the original wife had a live broadcast during which Lamia was humiliated in front of the public. This incident created quite a stir and made the local news headlines, adhering to the idea that being infamously popular is a form of popularity. Lamia made money through live streaming on the internet, but the good times did not last long. She was stopped at the entrance to the community by a paranoid Dante fan who splashed sulfuric acid on her, disfiguring her. She has long vanished from the internet, her whereabouts still unknown. According to reports, the attacker was a deeply obsessed man, devoted to a particular male live streamer. When he saw Leia interact with him on a live broadcast, jealousy consumed him, and he committed the crime. Years later, as my guardian held me close, we revisited that dark chapter. I thought for a long moment and finally said, being consumed by love is an illness, and it needs to be treated. Fortunately, I overcame my obsession with Lamia, and found my way to real happiness. The end.